Now, there's a few common setup issues that I see time and time again, and I think it stems from the axe motion. It feels really powerful when we have a golf club. Let's imagine this is a golf club for a second. If I feel like I'm gonna hit this golf ball and I bring this thing over my head and I chop down into the golf ball, it feels like I have tons and tons of power, tons and tons of speed. I feel like I could have chopped that golf ball in two. And I think every golfer, from when they very begin to start playing, they want to feel that really powerful motion. Well, in golf, unfortunately, that doesn't really work. Instead of having that over the head chop type motion, and I'll fix that, don't worry about the tee, you need to be coming from the inside, get the club in the slot, and then feel like you can deliver that club with a good path to have tons of power and tons of speed. If we continue to set up in ways that get us into that chopping type position, we're gonna lose speed, we're gonna lose distance. So in this video, I'm gonna talk about 3 of the most common setup myths, setup problems that get you into that chopping position rather than being into a powerful position where we can get into the slot. Once you get set up the right way, you're gonna hit the ball a lot farther. Now be sure to hit that subscribe button. I got a ton of great content that's coming out this year. I don't want you to miss out on it, and the only way you're gonna get notified is if you're a subscriber. Also click that thumbs up, post your comment below. I'd love to hear from you. All right, so let's jump right in here. Let's talk about the first issue that can really wreak havoc on your speed. And if I'm kind of imagining that powerful feeling of me coming down and chopping into this golf ball, we all know we don't want to do that, but it feels so good doing that. If I visualize that, one thing that I'll do with my setup is I'll set up in a position where I would have a lot of power coming down in this angle. And if you notice my shoulders, so if I was to put a golf club across my shoulders here, this would be level with the ground. This would be a little tilt away from the target, my head getting farther behind the ball, my spine being kind of angled away from the golf ball. That's really good. But if I'm set up in a way that I feel like I'm going to come down into this golf ball really powerfully, a lot of times what will happen is my shoulders will get level. I'll get too far kind of to the left if you're looking at my shoulders. And now I'm in this position that feels like I can slam down in this golf ball with a lot of speed, with a lot of energy, but it really just doesn't work in golf. So that's the first key. What I want you to do, go ahead right now, even if you're not on the driving range, grab a club, grab a broom, whatever you have to do, follow right along with me on this, and this is really gonna help a ton. Put a club across your shoulders, so hold it right on the tips of your shoulders here. Go ahead and bend forward into your posture, and then I'm gonna feel like my belt buckle goes a little forward toward the target, my upper body gets a little bit more behind it here, my head's behind the golf ball, my chest is behind the golf ball, and you're gonna notice how I create a little bit of an angle with my club there. So just a slight angle is plenty. I don't have to go like this and go really a ton. But what I want you to do is set up very level, and then I want you to tilt away, let's call that about 10 degrees or so with my shoulder angle. Doesn't have to be more than that, a little more, a little less, not a big deal. So go ahead and do that about 15 to 20 times just to get comfortable getting behind that golf ball, just like this. Then I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing with my golf club, repeating that same action. So here I'm setting up, I'm getting a little tilt away, and now all of a sudden, I've tilted everything much more to the inside. I've created this big area right here where I can swing my hands and arms from the inside. I can get that club into the slot, and that's gonna make it a lot easier to create the real speed that we need and not that over-the-top type speed. Let's go ahead and try that out. I'm gonna hinge forward, a little tilt to my shoulders, my head is behind the golf ball. Let's give it a whirl. Okay, nice draw, right down the left side of the fairway. All right, now the second piece of this is gonna be a little trick with your elbow. If you get your elbow in the right position, it makes it so much easier to come down from the slot, come down from the inside like we're talking about, to get rid of that axe chop type move that kills our distance, kills our power. So what we're gonna do here, and the way I want you to do this, go ahead and set up to the golf ball. If you're in your living room, just set up to an imaginary golf ball, either way is fine. And I'm gonna get in my shoulder tilt first. Now I'm gonna get about 10 or 15 degrees or so of shoulder tilt like I talked about. And then from there, that's when I'm gonna add my hand. So if I add my right hand from this position, it's gonna be much more under or from the inside when I'm adding the right hand. That helps me to get my shoulders a little more square to the target. It helps promote that tilt. It helps promote me coming more from the inside when I'm doing that. So if you look at my palm of my right hand, it's gonna feel much more underneath the club versus if I'm too level with my shoulders and I add the right hand on there, now all of a sudden my palm is on top of the club. That's what's called a weak grip, and it's very easy for that to turn into a slice or kind of chop down over the top move. So get in the tilt, 15 or 20 reps, add the right hand in there, and then we're gonna close our grip. So a little bit goes a long way. You don't have to have the hand way under here like this, like I'll see some people really trying to exaggerate it, just get a little bit to the right. If you're looking for a few key checkpoints there, I'm looking for the index finger and my thumb. If I cinch those together, that's going to be pointed roughly toward my right shoulder. So that's when you know you're getting about the right amount of it. It should look something like that. The second piece of this right hand trick is what I talked about with the elbow. A big mistake when you get your shoulders too level. I'm going to put this hand on top, palm down, and now my elbow pit is pointed toward the target. That sets me up way too level with my shoulders, way too far to the left, and I really have nothing I can do from this position rather than to chop down over the top and really make a weak swing here. So as I'm adding my right hand, I want to feel like my elbow, if I look at the pointy part of my elbow, the bottom of my elbow, I'm going to feel like it's in toward my hip a little bit when I'm doing that. Now you can also see from this position, if I'm looking from down the line, how that's a little bit under my right forearm. So I'm exaggerating here so you can see that on camera, but this is under or lower. This would be over top. I don't want this or I'm going to really chop down into it. So set up, get your tilt, add your right hand, palm up, and then feel like that elbow is kind of towards your hip there. Now I'm in a powerful position where I can really get it inside from the slot and get that great, really athletic setup. Now the third piece of this really athletic, powerful setup is going to be my stance. And I see players all the time go wrong with this, and it's actually become some pretty common instruction the last few years, is we want our stance fairly narrow or just shoulder width apart. Now, we could argue that, but there's a great test for this. Here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and set up to the golf ball, and I want you to start with your stance really, really narrow. Just have your feet almost together, touching. What I'm going to do is go ahead and make a swing now, and I'm going to try to kill this golf ball. I'm going to try to hit it absolutely as hard as I can and see how far I can hit my driver. I'm even going to get my tilts and everything like I was trying to do with my shoulders and my arm, and let's see what happens. I smoked that one. That's about as good as I can hit one swinging from that way. Down the right center of the fairway, according to my flight scope, I swung 170 miles an hour and about as daggone good as I could hit one. I hit one 280, so not too bad. If everything else in your body is working well, if your hands, arms, shoulders, all that is delivering the club properly, you can do a lot of things with the lower body wrong and still get some good distance like I was talking about there, where I showed there. Now what I want you to do is gradually widen that stance up. Let me grab a couple golf balls here. And I'm gradually going to go wider and wider until I find my most athletic stance width. So you don't have to listen to me. I'm not in charge of exactly what you have to do. Find out for yourself. Start very narrow and then go wider and wider in your stance until you feel like you're the most athletic. For you, let's say you have this really wide, powerful stance like this. That's okay. As long as you move your feet a little bit, that's going to be completely fine. You can set up that way and still be really good. What I've found for most players is they like to set up, and I've tested this with quite a few players, a little wider than shoulder width apart. So if I stand straight up and down, you can see about how wide my feet are here. If I drew a line vertically from the ankle, it would be outside my shoulders, both my right foot and my left foot. This is about the most athletic I can get from my own personal stance. This is about the width that I see for most players. So a couple inches wider than your shoulders is perfect. Look at Rory McIlroy, the longest pound for pound hitter on the PGA Tour. You're gonna see a nice wide stance like this. This is athletic. My legs are bent. I feel like I could really drive off the ground when I'm doing this. Now the one thing you don't wanna do from here is I don't wanna keep my feet still. I don't wanna keep my feet kind of suctioned to the ground there and be swinging all arms. I have to go ahead and let my feet move. On the backswing, my left heel is gonna come up slightly. On my follow through, I'm really gonna let that right foot rotate all the way around. That's a very, very good key. But as long as I'm doing that, I can go as wide as I want and still have the movement and the freedom in my golf swing. So here, I'm gonna go ahead and set up what I feel like is my most powerful stance, and let's tie all three things that I talked about together. Number one, I have a little bit of a shoulder tilt. Number two, my right hand is coming into the club a little bit more from the bottom with my right elbow pit up. Number three, I have that nice athletic wide stance, a little bit of knee bend. I feel like I'm playing shortstop here. And now I'm in a position where I can really hit this golf ball pretty daggone hard. Let's give it a whirl. All right, hit that one nicely, right down the center. All right, so where do we take this from here? I actually have a great bonus for you. I'm just gonna talk about our stable fluid spine, which is exactly what we've been building in this series, even though we haven't been calling it that. If I look at my spine angle, As I set up, I want that slightly tilted away from the target. That's what all great golfers are gonna do. I actually measured PGA Tour pros, and every single one of them with the driver was tilted away between 15 and 25 degrees with their spine angle as they come into contact. Getting the shoulder tilt at address, getting the right arm under, getting that athletic stance, that makes all those things easier so you can start swinging just like a PGA Tour player. But I wanna build on that. Let's really solidify that so you don't even have to think about it, and it happens automatically. You start hitting those nice draws out there. I got a bonus video that's gonna pop up in a second, one of my best stable fluid spine videos. Go ahead and click the card that pops up on your screen or the link down below in the description. I can't wait to get started. Let's go ahead and work on that stable fluid spine. What is it that allows us to have consistency in the golf swing? And what is it that allows that consistency to fall apart and create some bad rounds? That's what we're going to talk about in this video today. Let's go ahead and get started. Everything that happens in the golf swing is initially dictated by what happens with the spine. So if we're looking at a skeleton, you know, my spine's in the center of my body and everything else in my body is attached to my spine. So my shoulders are attached to my spine, my arms attached to my shoulders, and then my arms are going to be actually swinging the club. Now when I see players that are really struggling, those guys that are hitting it out in the woods right, they're hitting in the left, then they have a few good holes, what's happening is their spine angle is changing. As they go to the top of the swing, maybe they have a reverse pivot, spine's angled back, falling back to the right, but there's a lot of inconsistency in that. And what happens is, as good athletes as we all are, the number one fundamental in golf, correct, keep it nice and stable, but fluid, we're gonna be able to hit those good clean shots time and time again, and that's what I'm gonna show you in this series of videos.
Henrik Stenson, top 5 in both driving distance and accuracy. Rory McIlroy here, playing some of the best golf that anybody's ever played, and you can see just how stable.